Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Hype's Watch, and we are doing the Death and Resurrection and Epic discussion here today with the Hype's Watch. We have a special guest here, Quinn of Ideas of Ice and Fire. Quinn, if you could please introduce yourself and let people know where they can find you, please.
Hey, I'm Quinn from Ideas of Ice and Fire. I do a Song of Ice and Fire videos on YouTube, and you can also find me on Twitter at Ideas of Ice_Fire.
Don Willie.
Valamogolis, everybody. It's Don Willie. So glad to be back with my people discussing this latest topic, and I think it should be pretty interesting.
And Jerry.
Hey everyone, Jerry the Targaryen Steamboat here, and I gotta say, I'm a little heartbroken right now. I feel like my belief structure has just kind of collapsed in itself, creating a black hole, but we'll see how things go today.
All right, Willie. So this is your little baby that we have going on here. So if you could elaborate on this whole death and resurrection, that'd be really great, and let everybody in the chat room know what's going on and what this video is about.
All right, so pretty much with this one, after the revelation of a Time magazine interview that George did, he talked about Beric Dondarrion and Lady Stoneheart basically being fire versions of wights. And, I thought about this because, obviously we're expecting John to be resurrected. And if Beric Dondarrion and anyone else who is brought back by fire magic is essentially a wight, then we have to ask the question: is someone controlling them? Because obviously you have the White Walkers that are controlling the White Army. Um, so it's one of those things where I just thought that this would be a great topic of discussion. So I invited Quinn on. I obviously got you guys. There were a couple other people that I wish could be here today that weren't able to make it. But yeah, I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on this particular subject because I do think that it will actually not only change how we view the series going forward, but going back and rereading uh, chapters with some of these resurrected characters, I think it will also give us a different view of how we look at it right now. So, um, yeah, Quinn, your thoughts on the revelation that George had about they're basically being fire whites.
Well, shout out to Quinn. We T Baby says she completely remembers Quinn from the Sim days, and from back when
Ugh.
Quinn used to play Sims. And Jerry, send
Oh,
LT an
God.
invite. He's up and at him now. But go ahead, Quinn.
When it comes to the Fire Whites, I think it's very interesting um, that George R. R. Martin said that their hearts aren't beating and they aren't bleeding. Because in the book, Beric Dondarrion bleeds a lot when he is killed by the Hound. When he gets cut, when the Hound like slices his shoulder, he bleeds a lot. So that kind of contradicts what George R. R. Martin said a little bit. But I like what he said because it gives the impression of like the ice and fire like kind of being counterpoints to each other, and also kind of being mirrors of each other. Like they both have different ways of doing things. It's like they're doing the same thing, but it's in two different ways. It's like different types of magic.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I think it's interesting that fire whites seem to also have wills of their own, while whites in the north, except for cold hands, seem to be just zombies. So like that begs the question, why is that exactly?
It's really interesting because it seems like when you have a ice white and a science mountain white, they they follow orders. You could talk about the hive mind of the White Walkers, and you could also talk about how the Mountain is he just does what he's told, but the Fire Whites they seem to have their own agenda. They maintain who they are. And they don't have their own agenda. They just maintain their presence. So you could say. LT, did you make it? Are you here? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I overslept and I didn't think you guys were going to still invite me and I get the call. I was just letting you guys know I overslept.
Way to go, dude. Way to go. Jerry, do you have anything to add on this so far?
Well, I mean, it makes me think that maybe that this whole, because we mentioned that you mentioned how the whites they take the ice whites they take orders and they follow orders. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe that's not their natural thing. Like maybe when you naturally resurrect someone, they come up and just have their own mind, have their own thought, like cold hands, and then it's an added step to mind control them.
Well, cold hands is Bran. Shout out to Don Millie for time traveling Bran.
I'm sticking to the source material. I'm not going out
right
into theories yet, but other than saying this theory,
right.
But yeah, so I think it's just a natural thing to have your own mind, but there's an added step to mind control them, and which is what they do to these whites. And which is what I'm guessing Cold Hands probably resisted. They probably tried to do the same to him. He's like, no, I'm keeping my own mind. And
what kind of person would it take? Like what kind of person would it take to resist that kind of mind control?
I mean, obviously a person like Cold Hands, because he did it. So that really begs the question of, who is Cold Hands? I mean, it makes me think that he's probably someone even more incredible than, a guy like, a Waymare Royce or, whoever,
mm-hmm.
Turned into whites. Those random two Night's Watch brothers, that attacked Mormont in his chambers.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be someone, with an extremely strong will that's able to resist this. And, I mean, when we see the fire, when they bring them back, they're not trying to control them or anything. They're just asking, please bring them back. And yeah, and to piggyback a little bit what Quinn said earlier, yeah, George R.R. Martin,
this guy,
the man with all the logic. We finally find this guy's weakness, and he's shown us a little bit of his ass here. By saying this whole not bleeding stuff, when we clearly can read that Beric Dondarrion has bled. We've seen it. And now also one of his I think it was the fourth death that Beric Dondarrion had, he got a death by hanging. How do you die from hanging if your heart doesn't beat and your blood doesn't flow? The whole reason that you die when a person hangs is because the blood stops flowing to the brain.
What was it? The hanging his first death, though?
What was it? No, I think it was his fourth death. That's the point. What is with this lack of logic, George R. R. Martin? I ask you. I never expected this from you, my friend. Never expected. I expect this from Dan and Dave, but not from you. I'm a little heartbroken about it.
Oh, you got a little slight lack of continuity?
Slight lack of continuity from the man who's never failed in continuity.
So we don't know for sure what his first death was, but all we know for sure is his death was when he got ambushed by the Mountain. But we don't know how
that was
exactly.
His first death, when he got ambushed by the Mountain.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Mountain fucked him up. Yeah.
Wait, alright, so I'm looking here at the 7 deaths of Beric Dondarrion. It says the first one was
lance, right?
Hailed by a lance. Second was smashed with a mace. by Burton Krakow. The third was he was hanged. The fourth he
Oh,
was
sorry.
stabbed. Yeah, the fourth was he was stabbed in the eye by the mountain. Let's
My
see, the fifth.
favorite one.
Yeah, the fifth killed by an archer by from the Brave Companions. Number six was him dying against the Hound, and number seven was him passing on the flame to resurrect Catelyn.
So he died from the mountain twice.
Yep.
3 times. Oh, wait, no. Sorry. Krakow. Well, yeah, mountain twice. Sorry.
So I got a question for everybody. So there's a lot of people thinking that John might die twice. So, is he gonna get, if he's a firelight, is he gonna get like another kiss of life? Was the first one kind of? I mean, I know it's different in the show, but in the books, will he get another kiss of life? Like, is it reanimated fire? Is it like basically whoever resurrects him again gonna reignition his fire? You know what I mean?
Well, there's been
Yeah, I
a
think we should get to that later. About John.
I was gonna
That's
say
a separate
about
topic.
Beric Dondarrion in the show, his role, and who, like, okay, you have to ask yourself, like, what's his purpose in the show, and we want to, think about that. Beric's role is going to resurrect somebody, but who could it be? Yeah, so let's save that towards later in the show if we can.
We definitely want to come back to the John question. That's a great question.
Yeah,
we need to
absolutely
have a discussion on.
Well, then we could ask the same question about LT. I'm not LT. I'm talking about Beric.
Yeah, you talking about yourself?
That is
you
a
talking
question
about
you
yourself?
would ask about
Yeah,
LT. How did
it's like
resurrect
LT resurrected from his drunken hungover, like fucking, and now decided to fucking join us. So yeah, like LT is he's an alcohol wight right now.
something randomly woke me up, and then when I saw the notifications and I saw you guys were starting right when I woke up.
Yeah, okay.
Well, LT,
don't mind
what
all
do
the
you
phone
think
calls you had either. Yeah, that's fine.
LT, what do you think about this whole, George R. R. Martin revealing the fire white? What were your first thoughts?
What? I think this does not bother me like everybody else. It doesn't matter. John's still the hero. He's still okay. The only thing it could, is I heard Tony saying that John might not sit the throne. So what? That's not the point. He's not going to be king. We're not going to get a happy ending. It's not bittersweet, right? So it doesn't matter. He's still going to be the hero, and it doesn't even really bother me at all that he's a fire white. I mean, he's still alive, and that's the important thing.
I mean, well, look, is he dead or is he mostly dead? And the thing about it too is, you have a whole vision that Melisandre has of John, where she says she sees him as a man, a wolf, and as a man again. So, would his resurrection be different if he actually wargs into Ghost? Because you got to think about it. This means that he didn't actually die in the same way that someone like Catelyn or Beric did, because his soul survived inside of his wolf until he's basically pulled back into his body. So would that give him a totally different a different property than someone like Beric or Lady Stoneheart?
I think I have something to say about that, and that's because I think there's two types of magic going at it. There's fire, like magic. Fire is magical in this world. In my opinion, fire is magical. Ice is magical. We've seen with the others doing all the ice. We've seen fire, and we've seen fire in different ways. From R'hllor. That's a subset of fire. All these priests of R'hllor looking into the flames, seeing the future, whatnot. Then we also got dragons. They're a subset.
What about healing his hand?
Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Right. We got to the dragons. They're basically made of fire. They're a fire magical creature, and anything that they touch becomes like magical. Like the Valyrian steel, I choose to believe that that's magical. Their bond with the Targaryens. That's like this seems to give the Targaryens some kind of a little bit of fire magic. I mean, not to the level maybe the show is showing, where Dany is apparently immune to fire. Not to that level, but they do have some kind of fire magic within the Targaryen blood. And then we also have, just regular fire. Like, the volcanoes of Dragonstone produce dragon glass, which is pretty much like this, frozen flame, because, volcano causes fire. And look at what all this shit that dragon glass is doing. It kills the others. It, apparently, according to the show, it could heal wounds and stuff like that. And look, even basic fire from the Priest of Lord, it's also healing, like in Victarion's arm. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think these are all kind of the same thing, and they're just subsets of things. So, Jon being a Targaryen blood, he's obviously going to have some kind of affinity with fire that's going to make him different than like a Catelyn or a Beric Dondarrion.
And he's going to have the ice. That's what makes him unique, because he's fire and ice.
And he's got magic from, which is the Warging, I think.
Both sides, and you can't apply the rules that's to Beric or Catelyn to Jon, because he, like I said, he's a hero of the story. He's a Azor Ahai. He's a princess.
I don't know if he's a hero, but he's one of the main dudes of the story.
Come on, how are you?
I don't know about all that, LT. I don't know about all that.
You never, because this is.
I remember LT Giles is saying that right now here, and I said that in season 5 when he was riding away in that boat. He's the hero of the story, and that's plain and simple. And if you can't see that, you're blind, in my opinion.
All right, so Quinn,
I could easily.
I don't think there is.
I think he's a hero too. I mean, that's my prediction as well. But I can easily see the opposite happening and him becoming the villain in the end, like a hero switch. But
there's all kinds of heroes, but he's the main guy. He's the main one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think there is
him and Dany.
Sure. Quinn, take it away, sir, and humble us down a little bit, and throw some logic and some science in here, if you can.
I mean, I think I think he is a hero. I don't know about the hero. I think there's multiple different people that have a role to play in this. Just like I don't think there is I don't really think there's the villain. There are villains, but there are several villains, and just like there are several heroes. I think Jon Snow will have a big role to play. Dany will probably have a big role to play. Bran will probably have a big role to play. I think he's one of the heroes, just like the legend of Azor Ahai. Like, that wasn't just one person. Like, there are many different legends of this all over the planet, and it's all different people. So I think it's more than one person. It's more than Jon. It's much bigger than just Jon.
What I'm trying to state is not that he's the only hero. What I'm trying to state is I think he's going to be the one that defeats whoever. Okay, so in the show, he's going to be the one who defeats the Night King. I guarantee that. In the book, whoever we find out, because we haven't found out who the great other champion, ultimate champion is, I believe he will defeat that one. And yeah, they're all on the same team. Like you said, all these heroes, they're all on the same team.
It's true. I mean, I could definitely see that happening, but I can also see. I mean, I agree with you, LT. But I also want to look at all possibilities. I don't want to say it's just this for sure. I can also see that maybe even in taking down the champion, he replaces the champion. Like when Luke took down Vader, he had the opportunity of replacing Vader. Well, maybe in this series, Jon makes that leap and he does replace and become the new villain. I could see it happening. I don't think it will, but it's a possibility.
Well, that kind of scared me when after Jon died and those pictures were going around, and it was him, like he looked like actually an actual White Walker. And if you say that, maybe that could happen, but I hope not.
I mean, I think anything could happen at this point.
Don Willie, we haven't heard from you. Drop some bombs.
I mean, yeah, I'm sorry. I've just been kind of paying attention to what you guys have been saying. Look, this whole thing with the different kinds of magic and different properties and how it affects different people. I think that, again, us going back and rereading it now and trying to figure out the motivations behind not only the characters but behind what the magic is itself is going to be pivotal to how we look at the story going forward again, because George has already said that he's not going to show us any gods, Deus Ex Machina style. So it's kind of left up to our own interpretations as to what it all means. When it comes to the White Walkers, we hear about a great other. We don't know that a great other exists. We're pretty sure that the children of the forest created the White Walkers. But if that's the case, then where did the concept of the great other come? We're pretty
My
sure
thing
that
is,
Azor Ahai is all of these different legendary heroes. But where did the whole idea of R'hllor come from? If there's not a tangible thing that we can see, so it's just one of those things where when we sit down and analyze it and try to see, well, there are these different forms of magic that are butting heads against each other, but for what? Like, what is the actual purpose? Is there a bigger game to it all in a cosmic sense, or is it just really kind of random? And as much as we've been led to read into it, the people actually in this whole world are being led to read more into what's guiding the magic than what's actually there. Any one of you guys take that away?
I think Quinn had something to say, didn't you, Quinn?
yeah, I pretty much agree with Don. I would go as far as to say that like there is no great other, there is no actual lore. I feel like there are forces in place behind this world that are unseen and abstract, and that's where these powers come from. And I don't really think there's anything deeper to that. I don't even know if these forces are necessarily conscious forces. Like I feel like what's going on in their world is just like the natural flow and ebb of their world. It's all about the balance. So when it comes to the children of the forest creating the others, um, I feel like that power had to come from somewhere. It came from like some force. Like they tapped into some kind of nexus of ice magic that lives in the north or something like that. That's the way I see it.
I don't want to get all like religious, but do you guys think that somebody like Melisandre, her faith gives her power by any chance? Maybe because she believes in R'hllor so much, you know? I mean, but then Thoros in the show, I can't remember in the books, he doesn't really have much faith, but he
No,
was
like
able
he
to
was
resurrect.
he was a drunkard,
Yeah,
and yes, Thoros accompanied everybody in the Greyjoy rebellion. It was great. It was fantastic, but he was a drunkard, and all of a sudden he broke down one day, and when he prayed, he meant it, and this is why in my mind the gods are real, or at least certain of them, or a couple of them are very real. We have physical proof why they're real.
you just answered my
I
question.
think the
Just
I
magic
mean,
is real.
you,
I'm not necessarily sure if
yes,
there's like
yes,
an all powerful God named R'hllor. He might just be tapping into. He might
yeah.
in doing that. He might be tapping into like this fire magic, and he's crediting it to something called a R'hllor, but it's just different flavors of the same thing. Because I mean, kind of like how, again, I don't want to get too much of a debate, but like how you have the Bible and Christianity. It's from one book. You have all kinds of different types of flavors of it.
denomination and like
Yeah,
religion. Yeah,
denominations. You got Catholics who are like, they're big on saints and stuff and whatnot. And you got something
yeah.
like, then you also have something like Mormons, big on, magic lenses and underwear and stuff. And then, you have different kinds of like Eastern Orthodox. So it might be like different flavors of the same thing. And I think fire is somehow magical in this universe.
Kraken just answered my question because he just said, he's a drunkard and, he just prayed the right time. And I think it is faith that makes
Well,
these guys
he
stronger.
finally meant it. He finally
Yeah.
meant his prayers. Like he legitimately at that point in time was praying to the red god of R'hllor, and
Did
here we are with a new Beric. Go ahead, Quinn.
I mean, did he mean it? I feel like he
I
was
think he
just
did.
saying words because those were. I mean, look, my thing is, I don't think that these gods. I don't think they're gods. I feel like this is just the nature of their world. Like there are forces in their world that when you do certain things, it leads to a certain action, and they attribute this. They've built religions around this. Like look at the real world. I mean, there are religions, to be quite frank, that are just built on nothing. They're built on nothing. So if there was an actual like force in the world, a magical force, that's something that of course there would be religions built around this. If you could like look in a mirror and say some words and some shit would happen, of
Like,
course people would build a religion
Hail
around that.
Mary
That
3
doesn't mean
times
there's
in
a
the mirror.
god.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean
I
there's a
mean,
god in the mirror.
if you do
I
Just
agree.
like,
because you can look in fire and see visions doesn't mean that God is sending those visions. Maybe the nature of their world is such that when you stare in a fire for long enough, then you'll see some shit. That
That
doesn't
oh
mean
actually
yeah,
God
makes a
is
lot of
sending it.
sense because the most magical beings seem to be like the children of the forest seem to be most in touch with nature. So, and then fire being something of nature, kind of makes sense that there really is no God or anything. Like it's just nature, and they're manifesting nature into a god and using that
This
I
is
mean,
nature.
this
but
is why I like having Quinn on because he keeps all of us grounded. He keeps all of us grounded.
well,
So
I think it's
thanks,
cool
to
that you
Quinn.
mentioned the children of the forest.
well,
I was
you
gonna
know
say I
what
think it's
though.
cool that you mentioned the children of the.
Well, listen. One point that Quinn just brought up though, that I might have to contradict a little bit is about the nature of magic, where just people look into the flames and they automatically see visions. I'm not sure if that's exactly what he was trying to say, but uh, obviously these people are getting their visions from somewhere because you only get certain people who see the visions. Because I'm pretty sure other people have looked in the flames, and think about it, right? Cersei, when she sees the Tower of the Hand uh, burning, we're getting her point of view, and she doesn't necessarily see anything in those flames. So I mean, it's one of those things where, yeah, I do believe that there are some sort of external forces, but how those external forces get attributed to a particular god is the thing that I'm wondering.
Well,
It's
I
like,
mean, okay, like
Because
go ahead, go ahead, Quinn.
people make shit up. People see that this is the way the world works, and they try to find a bullshit way to explain it. I don't understand why I'm seeing this in the fire, so I'm gonna say R'hllor is showing me this, even though it might not be R'hllor. Maybe like the fire is like linked to like some kind of psychic connection between like all living beings in the world. I don't know. Something, but there's absolutely no proof that R'hllor is an actual thinking god being that's
Right,
sending people
you're
visions and has
you're
destinies
absolutely
for
right.
people. There's no proof of that at all.
Right, you're
Yeah, I agree.
absolutely right about that. But like, think about like all the people in Westeros, all the people in Essos, and everywhere. There's no electricity here, so everybody at just about every single night of their life is staring or sitting by a fire. But you have these few individuals that are actually able to tap into it, like it. And Quinn, it's probably just like you said, like it's not a god, it's just a thing in this world, for people to look into, to have faith in. You know what? And like okay, let's take, okay, all of you guys and myself included, we're in this Game of Thrones community, fucking theory shit. So if you stare at something long enough, it's gonna make sense, or you can weave it to make sense. You can manipulate it to make sense. Like let's just say, oh,
You mean you could force your mind?
yeah,
You could
you
you
can
can manipulate yourself.
correct, to make it make sense. And okay, like there's a lot of YouTubers out there, you know, that just fucking word vomit everywhere, you know. But like if you look at a theory or something that you hold in your heart to be true, if you look at something long enough, you can manipulate it to make it make sense to you. That
Yeah,
this
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 is very
might
true.
be what they're doing. This might be what they're doing in the story.
Look, sing in the flames is an art. You have to learn it. You have to know what you're doing. In the books, it's an art, right? Anybody can hold a paintbrush, but
Right.
not everybody can paint the Mona Lisa. You
Absolutely.
have to know what you like. Like, look how long it took us to understand about how our world works, like electricity and strong nuclear force and the weak nuclear force and all this. It's always existed, but we had to discover it. We had to learn how to manipulate it. Maybe in small levels, people have always been like tapping into this magic, but
Yeah,
once
like
you know
us
you
as
get an order like
humans,
the Red Priestess.
we could have
Yeah.
spun electricity
Go ahead.
into a god.
Yeah, you're
Like
right. You're right,
literally.
Jonas.
You know,
Yeah.
like think about how stoned fucking and this is a meme. I'm stealing this. It's not an original thought, but think about how stoned Benjamin Franklin had to be to think about electricity before there was electricity. You know,
I mean,
like
and what's even crazier, you could have spun electricity and magnetism into each gods that oppose each other.
yeah,
But when you look at it, it's actually the same force.
and then the gravity god is now fucking with both of them.
So all four fundamental forces are gods now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, and Quinn, you're right. You know, like you're absolutely right. You know, so who are we to judge these elements within this world, the elements within this life? You know, maybe it's just a thing. Maybe the whole red God and resurrection and having faith, it's just another version of fucking electricity or gravity.
I
I
It,
mean,
know
that doesn't
the
really explain how they. I mean, they're obviously, yes, that's true, but they're obviously, the elements have some kind of magic into them, or else they wouldn't be able to do
okay, what the
some of
fuck
the
is
things.
electricity? Like, explain electricity to me. You know, like
What do you
it's
mean?
it's magic. It's magic. Like you can't explain it.
I mean, you
I
can't look
can't
into
explain
electricity
it.
and see the future.
You know, like if we didn't have
I feel
scientists
like you all
running around.
would benefit.
Go ahead, Quinn.
Everybody would benefit from watching Doctor Who. Doctor Who deals with shit like this all the time. Like he'll come across some civilization that believes in some magic shit, and it'll always be like a bullshit like sci-fi reason.
It's
But like
science.
he'll totally explain like how like yeah it's science. Like there's one episode where there are like these witches. They're like these witches and they say spells and shit. And he's like, no, he's like they're saying the right words that manipulate the universe in a certain way that makes something happen. And that's just how the nature of this particular place works. Like you say this and you do this and this effect happens. I don't know. I mean, that's not the way the real world works. But who's to say?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's something
But
magical about these elements in this world.
You know what?
So
And
Quinn.
it also goes
yeah,
back
but anything is magic.
that you don't understand.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Go ahead, Quinn.
yeah. That's basically what I was gonna say.
Yeah, like it's you don't understand it. You don't know how it works. Like we can't explain it. We can't tie it down to science. Like all of a sudden it's magic. You know, but Quinn
Tides go in, tides come out. You can't explain that.
right. No, we can. That's because the moon revolves around the fucking Earth.
That's yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
gravity.
I know
That's
what you're
gravity.
Yeah,
Taking a shot at Bill O'Reilly there.
Right.
Oh God.
But I mean,
So
like,
Quinn, you were
it's the truth. It's the truth. Like anything you can't explain, all of a sudden it's magic. You know, but in reality, it just might be science. It's just something that you don't understand.
If I took my cell phone back like 300 years ago and showed them this, let's say I took a video of someone's grandfather and then came back a year later and their grandfather grandfather was dead, and
Oh,
I showed them that video of their
You're a
grandfather.
time
They
traveling.
would hang you
alien.
for blasphemy.
The only explanation that they would have would be that grandfather was inside of my phone.
They would hang you for blasphemy.
They're trying to burn you at the stake for being.
I mean,
Yeah.
they would think that I had their dead grandfather. They would think that I had their dead grandfather in my phone.
Yeah.
That they don't have a concept of a
Like you trapped his
video
soul,
or even a photograph at that point in time. They
you
don't know
trapped
what
his
they're
soul.
seeing.
Yeah.
Well, even as far as
Yeah.
there were stories of even as far as the white man taking fire and making it look like it comes out of his hand, and the Indians believe they can make fire.
Why does it
with their
always
hand.
got to be about the white man, LT?
Y'all always doing shit.
Yeah.
Because that's what
Because we're always
Indian called
doing
white
shit. God damn it.
man. No disrespect intended to white men. Sorry.
Oh man! All right,
Aren't you white,
before
LT?
this devolves into something crazy.
No,
I
think we
so
already
I
went
got
there,
some-
Willie. We already went there, Willie.
White race.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, I
All right.
question: When were you offended because you were talking about looking into the flames as skill? Were you offended by the show, by the hound being able to look into the flames so quick?
Well,
I
no,
wasn't
because
offended because
yeah, Thoros.
they've already. Yeah, I mean, they've already set it up as canon. As if it's like a red priestess like near you, then like I guess you can see it in the flames because Melisandre does the same thing.
And
With
you saw
Stannis.
Stannis do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, even when Melisandre's and with Stannis, remember they mentioned. Matter of fact, I was just listening to. I want to say not the King's. It was one of the last Stannis or the King's Prize. One of them. They said he's in the tower staring at the flames for hours, and he's by himself. So she's not with him, and he's still just staring into the flame.
Mm-hmm. I guess she
Yeah.
taught him that one time and he could do it.
Now the crazy thing about that is like because Stannis still wasn't really a believer, though. Which I'm like, all right, well, I don't understand how you could stare into the flames for hours and see all these visions, and not still, still not be a believer. Yeah, so that's some. George is gonna have to explain that one too. How come he never actually, fully converted to the Red Faith?
Like, and this faith, like, I'm not gonna lie, guys. Like, this is one of the few instances in this story to where we actually have physical proof that this shit is real. This shit is real. You know, and
feel like
that's why I say that maybe the Red God is fucking for real. You know, like.
But hold on. I'm gonna go with what Quinn says. Is that like it's just the nature of the element, and someone's manifesting. Because think about Dany when she goes into the flames and births dragons. That's obviously some type of fire magic
Correct.
that had nothing to do with the Red God.
Correct.
So she used fire magic with the absence of the Red God.
But it's like her hair
Stannis-
burns off. Oh, sorry.
Stannis.
Oh wow, her head
saw,
burned. That's what we're focusing on here, LT.
No, I'm just saying.
Stannis
she's not.
saw the power. Stannis saw the power. He didn't see a God. That's why he never believed.
Mm.
He saw all this. He saw all these things that Melisandre was saying her God was doing. He never saw God, so he doesn't know where this power is coming from. Why should he worship this God that he's never seen, that there's no evidence for? Just because she can do all these incredible things and she's saying that it's coming from a God doesn't mean that it is.
He knows it's coming from somewhere, maybe not necessarily lore.
I mean, but the thing about it is, remember, they're living in a medieval society without the kind of technology that we use today. And if you think about it, right, look, 20 years ago, we wouldn't be able to do this kind of thing with this video conversation that we're having right now, right? And our parents or grandparents, even if we would have told them 20 years ago that what we're doing right now is possible, they would probably look at us like we're crazy.
Yeah.
Because, there's just certain things that with the advancement of technology or the lack of advancements in technology that people kind of rely on in terms of the way that they look at the world. So for me, it kind of would make more sense if Stannis actually believed in a god based on seeing the attributes of the things that Melisandre is telling him come from her god, as opposed to saying, okay, I see what is going on, but I'm still not going to believe the thing that it supposedly comes from.
Would you
Okay.
say? Would you guys
Um,
say that? All right, so we got the power of resurrection, but would you say that all the powers, are like gifts of from the gods, like prophecy, and is that a gift from the god?
Hmm. I mean, listen, we don't know. We
No.
Yeah.
really,
mhm.
we really don't know because you know, and I mean, look, the fact that George said he's basically going to leave it up to us to decide, uh, is. I'll be honest with you, it's a little annoying, only for the fact that the characters, like we already know that the characters are unsure for themselves. Remember, Melisandre throughout a Dance with Dragons, and especially even in one solo chapter that we got of her, is kind of questioning her faith because of the fact that the things that she's been taught or the things that she believes she's not 100% seeing in the flames. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like, all right, well, if George isn't going to tell us what's real and what's not when it comes to these gods and the story, and he's already said that the characters are unreliable narrators when it comes to certain instances in the books. It's like, well, how do we know what's supposed to be real in that world if we don't have a concrete answer as to, all right, this is where this magic comes from. These visions do come specifically from this particular place. And even when it comes to the death and resurrection thing, you've got one side that's being specifically controlled by. I mean, and it's the funny thing. We don't even know if the whites are being controlled by the White Walkers. That's speculation right now. Like we don't have any 100% proof that the whites are being controlled by the White Walkers.
I call bullshit on that. Like, if you want to call, or if you want to look at, the Night's King literally raising his hands and pulling everybody
That's the show,
together,
though.
it's a hive mind.
Yeah, but that's the show.
I
Listen,
got
first
something
off,
to say.
All right,
okay, yeah,
Gwen.
go ahead.
Like 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 look at the Children of the Forest, for instance. Like the first men worship quote unquote the old gods, which are like these unseen deities that that are connected to the trees, right? But the Children of the
Elemental.
Forest, they don't believe in any old gods. The trees are the gods. The children understand that there is no unseen force. It's literally the trees that they worship. Like it's literally that nexus of knowledge that they worship. There is no higher force. Like so, the first men are literally worshiping. They're not worshiping anything. If they're saying these trees are connected to a god and the children planted the trees and put the trees everywhere, like these children don't even believe in that the old gods. The old gods are not a thing. It's literally the nexus of werewood knowledge that the children worship. So
So
that's
basically,
that's why
Go ahead, Quinn.
I was going to say basically they're adding an unnecessary step to the explanation, which could be the same with lore. You're adding the whole
Mhm.
creation of a lore is just an added unnecessary step.
Yes, they're just tacking all this baggage along with it. They're saying they're adding all this extra stuff to it that's not necessarily true.
So do we count the drowned god and how Aaron's resurrecting people with that
No,
thing? Do we count that? No.
That's
Okay.
CPR.
no, because I talked with Quinn right before the show, and I was like, if that's the case, then the Iron Islands is just full of dead people. Like to be considered Ironborn, you have to be drowned and resurrected. Yeah, it's just a whole bunch of CPR certified people, like
And
Yeah.
the population would go out if that was the case. If they were
Right.
just animated and like the blood wasn't flowing, because then you'd lose the ability to create children,
No,
and so
and
the Iron Island would
they're
just get
they're
wiped
they're
out.
way too one-minded. Like everybody stands up for whatever the fuck they believe in. In the Ironborn, in the Iron Islands. So I say no. And even me as a Kraken in Ironborn, I say absolutely not.
Which
No.
dead never dies, but comes back
No,
harder and
fuck
stronger.
that. Fuck
Okay,
that.
well, you know what though? All right, so speaking of someone being drowned and coming back, what about someone like Patchface?
All right, so
Because-
we went through it. So we have the Fire Wights, which is John, Lady Stoneheart, Beric Dondarrion. We have
Possibly John.
Shut up. So we have the ice wights, like everybody being resurrected through ice. We have the mountain, who's resurrected through science. He's basically Frankenstein at this point. And
We don't know.
my
We don't know how.
my
It's
argument,
alive.
yeah, my argument was, well, what the fuck is Patchface? And like people,
Water magic.
yeah, and people were trying to tell me, oh, he's a water wight, like he's a water magic wight, whatever, and I was like, no, that's bullshit. Like, and the thing is, I can't really back that up, but like in my head, I'm like, no, that just doesn't make sense to me,
Why
like,
not?
because we can't prove it. We can't prove it.
We can't prove any of this.
Okay, there's a lot of things we can prove. Like,
Face.
Let me play devil's advocate here. I mean, technically, ice is frozen water. So why not have him be a water wight?
Okay.
And that's why That's why Melisandre flips out so much against this guy.
no, like you're okay. You can say that if you want to be extremely logical, like, and you're right, but in this world, that we're talking about, in Westeros, we have no other occurrence like Patchface. He's
Well, I mean, these are all rare occurrences. We only have 2 occurrences so far of the fire wights. So,
all right, but we have a
Well, what if-
million occurrences with the ice.
yeah.
You know how many people are in Westeros and everywhere else that we haven't got the point of views from that probably... No, just messing.
Possible.
But
Here's
Patchface
one thing I want to ask, going back to the death and resurrection. So we know the blood doesn't flow. We know that, let's see, what he said, heart isn't beating, blood isn't flowing. He's animated. They're animated. So what exactly does that mean by animated? They can just move their hands, legs, feet, the neck? I mean, what do y'all think as far as that goes?
Does that mean John will shoot blanks if him and Denny have sex?
He wouldn't even be able. He wouldn't even be able to have sex because he wouldn't be able to get the blood flowing
Okay,
to get erect.
Oh God.
So
Here you go. Can we?
Yeah, it's
man.
like down the rabbit hole now.
Thanks a lot, LT.
Guys. Hey guys.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm really, really sorry, but I have to go. Like, I am really, really sorry.
It's all
you're,
good.
You're fine,
Listen,
Quinn.
This came
Yeah.
up, and I gotta get out of here.
Get,
No,
get out of
But
here.
I had just invite me anytime, guys. Like, seriously, anytime you want.
Quinn, you're
me
the
on,
man.
I'll totally come on.
We always
But,
love having you, man.
yeah, always good to
sorry
have
for
you.
yeah.
You're fine.
Sorry for my poor connection.
You're fine,
But-
No
buddy.
problem.
Thank you guys for having me on. So thank you.
Take it
Nice
easy,
for-
Quinn.
I'll see you, Don and Jerry and
All right.
LT.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on, Quinn.
No problem.
See you, buddy.
All right, so look, right. Let's try to get back on track.
All right.
All right. So, we got the whole thing now with trying to figure out what are the motivations of a fire wight as opposed to an ice wight, because fire wights seem to still retain much of themselves, but it seems that whatever the last thing, whatever the last thing was that they did before they died, seems to be their mission going forward.
Oh,
Because if you think about it,
are you talking
right?
about like the Simon Pegg movie, like the when they were zombies and like his homeboy keeps playing video games?
Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, Shaun of the Dead.
You know what? I've never actually seen Shaun of the Dead. I heard it's
What?
good.
What?
You gotta watch it, Willie. You gotta watch it.
What?
Yeah. Okay, listen, I'll check it out on Netflix if it's on there. But anyway, so look, so think about it, right? So Beric Dondarrion, after he dies, he's still continuing the mission that he was sent on by Ned Stark. He's still
Not
continuing.
necessarily.
Well,
I think the Brotherhood Without Banners is saying, hey, guess what? Government is corrupt at this point,
right. I
and
mean, well,
we're
when I
vigilantes.
say when I say continuing the mission that he was sent on by Ned Stark, remember the Brotherhood Without Banners formed after the death of Robert, and they were just kind of like, all right, well, we still want to continue the mission of
Do
not
good,
only protecting the people
do
but
good.
also bringing down the mountain,
Yeah.
right? And think about it. He keeps on getting killed every time he runs into somebody who's connected to the mountain.
Yeah, Beric is a bitch, isn't he? Yeah.
So
No, man, don't ever say that about Beric. Beric's the best.
yeah, man.
Beric is a
So
He
bitch.
does get killed kind of easy. He's like freaking Kenny from South
Yeah.
Park.
He's skinny.
Oh, hey, what counts more that he
God
comes
damn
back? He dies, but he comes back.
Oh my
all right,
God! You killed
but think
Beric.
about it though. You know, like he's still on the same mission. He's still trying to do the same thing. And then you got Lady Stoneheart. So Catelyn Tully gets killed at the Red Wedding, and what does she want? She wants to take vengeance on whoever was involved with the Red Wedding, and that seems to be her only mission,
All
right?
right, so
So
can we all agree that actually the show stomped out uh, Lady Stoneheart with Arya killing the Freys in the first
Yes,
episode?
that's
Stoneheart
definitely
Yeah,
Indeed.
like that's like the definitive like stomp in the dirt.
No,
Like
no,
she's
sir.
she's
Lady
not
Stoneheart.
coming.
yeah,
No, I
it's a wrap.
disagree. Lady
Any
Stoneheart will be episode 6 this season.
No, shut up,
come
LT.
on.
Shut up, LT.
Well, in this interview that we're talking about, George said that they made a mistake by cutting out Lady Stoneheart, and I think that pretty much gives definitive proof right there. They didn't want to do it.
Yeah, like with Arya killing all the Freys, like there will no longer be any Lady Stoneheart. Like
Yeah.
there's no way.
No point.
So
Right. Go ahead, Willie.
and also plus the Brotherhood Without Banners is nowhere near the Trident anymore.
Right.
So
Right.
um, so the thing about it, right? So you have, like I said, the Fire Whites seem to be like whatever their last thing that happened to them before they died is the thing that still keeps to motivate them going forward. I mean, they now Beric Dondarrion seems to be a little more autonomous in terms of he remembers who he is to a certain extent, even though he says every time he dies, he comes back a little bit less of himself. But then also he, he's able to still have a little bit of free will. Lady Stoneheart does have free will, but it seems that her only thing is, okay, I got killed at the Red Wedding. My family got slaughtered, and the only thing I have on my mind is vengeance for that particular act.
All right.
Now,
So hang on. Let me piggyback off you real quick. So when I was talking to Quinn in our breakdown or before the show, so basically Beric losing his mind, Quinn says that it's because of science. Like after you lose your life, your brain starts to deteriorate. You know,
Yeah, I bet that blow to the head he took didn't help either.
No shit. And so he starts to lose, parts of himself. It's because he keeps dying, and he keeps, like, his body keeps dying. Like cells starts depleting, like in his brain, in his body, So, what about, John being brought back? John should, even though his body is going to go into ghost, or like his mind is going to go into ghost, or whatever. My dogs are freaking out. It's thunderstorming over here. But, like, you have to think about it. Like, why would they lose parts of their mind? It's not, they're not losing parts of their soul, into this void. It's like their body is trying to go into rigor mortis.
Yeah,
like
I mean, if they're not
trying to die.
if they're not getting any blood flow, or their heart's not beating, they're not creating any new blood cells in there, and it's not getting new blood cells.
They're
into
not
the brain.
alive.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You just have the cells that are there, and they're deteriorating at a fairly rapid pace.
Right. Yeah, at a rapid rate. Yeah. Go ahead, Willie.
No, I was just gonna say that it's one of those things where, since we don't have concrete evidence that physiology works the same way, and that the science works the same way in terms of brain chemistry, et cetera, it's a little difficult to 100% say that the reason why that Beric comes back as less of himself is because of his brain cells dying off. But that does make sense, because we do know that when people die, you get the processes in the body that slowly begin to shut down one by one, and it's kind of like, well, once that's gone, it doesn't come back. Once that dies off, you're not getting regeneration of that. And it seems like with these characters that the spark of life is the only thing that's keeping them from fully dying. So it's like, the process of death has not fully taken over yet. But you would imagine for Lady Stoneheart, though, she supposedly was dead for 3 days before they found her. And remember, Beric is telling Thoros and Mia to bring her back, and he's like, no, it's been too long. So the question is, is the fact that Beric gave his life to Catelyn, like, is there some of Beric inside of Catelyn?
Probably.
I don't think so. I think she obviously comes back less than Beric ever was. So, well, maybe not ever was, but she came back a lot less than Beric's first comeback.
I think she's got nothing but hate in her heart, and I think the only way. Yeah, I think the only way we see any act of kindness is if the theory is correct that people say that when the way John comes back in the books is she gives John the kiss of life. That's the only way I could see her being like at peace with herself, and because maybe she kills all the Freys, and she has to head north to the wall or something, and that's when she does that, and then she maybe she feels bad for the way she treated John when she does that. If that happens, I'm just saying.
I don't see that happening. That would take way too long to fucking kill all the Freys and make it to the wall, and you're talking like a year later.
I could see in Winds of Winter, I could see John being in Ghost or not resurrected for at least a fifth of the book. So I mean, she could kill all the Freys and then head north.
No, all you need is a Peter Baelish jetpack. Ain't that right, Dom?
But see, we don't have that in the books. The books generally, other than this white thing, make sense.
And
it respects geography. So we can't use our show. See, this is why the show's been fucking up so bad. Their God is trained to where thinking the things like crazy things like getting to the wall fast as possible. It would take a long time.
Yeah, because what was that they just said? 3,000. Oh yeah. John was saying to Sansa, the King's Landing is 3,000 miles away, so it would take. Because in the first season when Cersei, it says we've been riding for a month, so it takes a month from King's Landing to ride to Winterfell. God, that would suck. That would suck to travel like that.
I mean, well, yeah, but you got to think. All right, so if it takes a month from King's Landing, and King's Landing is further south than the Riverlands are, it should only take a couple of weeks then.
But to kill all the Freys is going to be a lot more complicated than the show makes it.
Really, think about what's going. Think about where we left off in the book. Okay, so like, here, let Echo. You guys hear Echo? Okay, it's gone. Anyways, but to see where we left off, man, stuff is going to jump off real quick, and in a matter of like real short, the Frey army could be wiped out. Jaime's gone with Brienne. So the Lannister army has no leader. A lot of stuff could unfold really quickly in the books for to her to take out a lot of people really quick.
Hey, guys, it's storming really bad over here, and I fear I may lose internet connection. I've actually had a couple of lags a couple of times. So if you guys want to, wrap it up and final thoughts, stuff like that.
Yeah.
What more do you have to say, Don Willie?
Yeah, no
shit. Fuck you guys. Anyway.
Yeah. Look, get him, Willie. Get him, Willie.
The only thing that I would say is, look, I think that going forward for all of us, not just the people who were here on the panel, but those of you who are going to watch this later on, if you are going to read the books, I would like to know your thoughts on the whole Fire Wight situation, and do these people have a will of their own? Are they being guided? What external forces are there? Are the gods real? Because these are questions that some of them I'm pretty sure will be answered in The Winds of Winter and The Dream of Spring, but some of them George has said he is never going to give us an answer on, and we're going to have to do like the end of Inception and just speculate forever and ever about what the fuck it all means. But
I mean, I do have one thing I want to discuss if you're done, Don Willie. Since this is death and resurrection, we do need to discuss the mountain. So what do y'all think? Is he
Science.
Okay? So
it's science. He's Frankenstein.
Is that too easy? I think.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think it's possible that maybe Qyburn might have used some kind of fire? I mean, we heard women screaming. Maybe he was burning some shit. Maybe he was using fire in a different way without R'hllor to resurrect the mountain. What do y'all think about that?
No, that's too deep. I'm gonna go back to.
What do you mean that's too deep?
Like I'm just saying I'm gonna go back to my initial black and white, reading the story. He was resurrected through science. Like Qyburn put him through Charles. Like I don't know what the screaming women meant. Like maybe he was draining blood out of them. Like I don't know, to resurrect the mountain, but it's just straight science to me, and that's as far as I'm willing to go with the mountain.
If fire is an elemental magic in this thing, then I mean just the study of that would be a science.
Right.
Well, here's the thing though too. Real quick. Here's also another thing. Remember who Qyburn's mentor was.
Marwyn.
Exactly. Marwyn is one of the dudes who does fuck around with magic.
He's master of the dark arts. If you
So-
want to say.
Wow, I could hear that thunder at Kraken's house.
Yeah, that's me. That's at my house. That's why I'm saying I gotta go before like my power cuts out or some shit like that.
All right, so yeah, listen. Final thoughts from you guys before we wrap this up, real quick.
Damn, that was really good though. Like you can hear all my thunder going on. That's really good.
I think we should sign off with Thunderstruck.
Yeah, no shit. Thunderstruck. Yeah, go ahead, Willie. Go.
All right, listen. Yeah. First off, I'd like to thank you guys for participating in this one.
Absolutely.
Wish we could have had our other guests that we wanted on, but conflicts and schedules happens every now and then. Thank you to everybody who participated in the chat room today. Thank you to everyone who will watch this later. Uh, you already know where you can find me. Link is in the description for my channel. I got videos that I'm working on all the time, etc., etc. And hopefully next time we can actually, not rush through the discussion. But Kraken, you're up.
I just want to give a big shout out to Sir LT Giles for waking up and joining us for this discussion. We counted him out for a second, but he came in strong, and so shout out to Sir LT Giles and everybody in the chat room that watched us live. Thank you. Shout out to the Hypes Watch, definitely. And everybody that will watch this in the future, thank you. And we all appreciate it. Jerry?
Hey, thanks everyone for watching. We're sorry I had to cut this short. We still had some good, probably still had some good discussion, but
I think we did.
Sometimes that's what we're talking about here. Sometimes the elements take over and, force the thing. In my opinion, this is all elemental magic in this world. There's fire magic. Maybe we'll see, even some Dr. Manhattan come in here with the strong nuclear mag. He's a strong nuclear wight.
See, this is a topic or a discussion that we should have another time because you think it's elemental. I think there's gods. So maybe we could hash that out on a later date. Stay tuned. Stay tuned, everybody.
The follow-up, magic versus element, or gods versus elements. How about...
Oh, God.
Maybe that could be the next epic discussion.
Let's do it.
So, yeah,
let's
we'll
fucking do
that
it.
Too.
Yeah. All right, Sir LT Giles, sign us off, man.
See, and I'm in the opinion that it's a both. It's magic. It's
No, you got to pick one.
It's also I think also faith. With what Nicholas
with me or against me.
Yeah. But no, I apologize everybody for waking up late, and I'm just glad I made it here. And tune in tomorrow for our reaction review. And we wouldn't be the Hypes Watch without you people that come and watch us and interactive in the chat. So we shout out to the chat and shout out to the subscribers.
Yeah, thanks, LT. Well, we're definitely join us next week. Not next tomorrow.
Yeah.
Next week too, actually.